How much TV is too much TV for your child? How are you supposed to know? Well, I'm going to give you the answers right now. Welcome. This is Melissa Dillon with Have More Time, a show for busy parents who are looking to live a life they truly love with their kids. So that means you, right? The reason you're here is to improve your life with your family and for yourself. And that is exactly what I set out to do with my time with you here today. So let's dive in. So, screen time is a very controversial topic, right? We all talk about it, whether it's social media, on the phone, apps, games, television, video games. It's all screen time, computer time, emails, business stuff. It's all screen time, right? So, I thought that I would address that today because I know that some of you may be curious, is my child spending too much time in front of the TV? I'm going to talk about just TV today, but this could apply to anything. Now, let's bring some expert opinion in here now, shall we, before we bring up the conversation and dive in together? So, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the National Parent Teacher Association, the National Education Association, and a whole bunch of other expert organizations all agree that parents should limit the amount of time that their kids spend watching TV. The cap recommended by most of these organizations is about 10 to 15 hours a week. So that averages to about 1 to 2 hours or so a day of television. Now, look, I am definitely not one to tell you how to raise your child. I don't think anyone should tell you how to raise your child. I think that all of us parents have the right to use our heart and our minds to make the best decisions that are for our family based on our own family values, what feels right to us, what feels right or wrong in our guts, what feels right or wrong in our minds and hearts. And also taking into account observations of how our child's behavior is in response to any sort of stimulus. Today it's television, but how are they when they're outside? How are they when they're cooped up inside? How are they at school? How are they at home? How are they interacting with certain types of friends or certain types of adults? You know, we have to be aware, keenly aware of our child's behaviors in direct response to their external and internal stimulus. So today we're going to talk about television because this is a big contention, and you may get some opinions from fellow adults, fellow parents, fellow educators, your child's teacher, maybe your parents are chiming in about whether your child is watching enough TV or not. So I'm going to give you some tools that you can use for yourself so that you can define this to decide what's best for your child. And then if you discover if your child is watching too much TV, in the latter part of the episode, I'll share some ideas about what you can do, some alternatives to training your child to entertaining themselves, especially when you need them to, in other ways than watching the screen. Okay? So, a number one thing that you can do, the biggest thing you can do, is observe your child's behavior during the television watching experience. Observe your child's behavior after certain periods of time. Have you ever been sitting there in front of Netflix or your favorite app and just binging on TV? I know you have. We all have, right? We find our favorite show and we just want to binge. It's just a Saturday. We're in our cozy jammies, or it's a Friday night, and it's time to get some good TV watching time in. So, as adults, when we watch TV, sometimes an hour or two feels great. It's like, yes, I haven't watched TV in days. This feels good. But what about those days? Take yourself to a time where you were in front of your television and you started to feel this funny feeling in your body, like angsty, anxious, feeling kind of on edge, feeling like I really want to know what happens, but this is just too much. I think I've had too much TV. Your brain kind of feels groggy. You're feeling like, for some reason, I don't know why, but I need to get up and stretch and wiggle. This has gone on too long. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to come up with enough ways to explain it, but I know you've got to know. I know that you know those times. If you do, please let me know, because I feel like I've been there, that's for sure. Binging on a series that I really, really like, and next thing you know, I can just feel it in my brain and in my body that it's just been too much TV. Okay, so taking that feeling, now observing your child. Your child goes through the same exact thing. So, some cues that your child may have had too much television in any given day is you'll start to notice that they're a little wiggly. They won't sit still. They're getting up out of their seat. They might be throwing things suddenly, or, I mean, depending on if you have boys and girls, they're all different sometimes. Maybe they're starting to get a little aggressive and you're hearing noises like hiya, hiya, and they're doing fighting noises, whether it's PBS Kids or Ninjago on television. Next thing you know, they just seem like they're angsty. There's some sort of anxious energy, some sort of pent up energy. They just need to get up and get away from that television, but they're not going to tell you that because in their minds, they might be feeling like, I still want to watch this, or I want to see what's happening, or it's just on and it's keeping my brain entertained blankly, that kind of thing. And especially if you're trying to get things done around the house and you're kind of observing, just pay attention to the energy of what's going on. So if you have a preschooler, you may notice this after about an hour that your child is just ready to get away from the television. Maybe your child's ready to get away from the television in 30 minutes. Maybe it's not till 2 hours of television before your child starts to feel that angst and need to get off. But your role as a parent is to just observe your child's behaviors so that you can interfere or guide them. I don't like to use the word interfere, but guide them into an alternative to spend their time. So it's our role to make sure that they have a healthy environment, that they're engaged in healthy activities, and screen time, though there are plenty of educational shows. I love PBS Kids for this. I love a number of shows that are on Amazon Prime or even Netflix. There are plenty of shows out there that are educational that I enjoy, and I think that they're really great for my son. And he's 4. And you may agree with me. There are plenty of shows that are great and educational, but still too much of it on screen time is just kind of brain numbing after a while. So we have to observe that as their role model and their guide, and making sure that they're making healthy choices for themselves is just to interfere and turn the TV off, right? So what do we do? So once we've decided, okay, maybe they have been watching too much TV, I now understand the cues, and you're noticing that after an hour, your child is just done with television and you need to turn it off. But you're struggling to help your child find alternative ways to spend their time when the reality is you need to get things done. You need to catch up around the house, and maybe you have some work to get done if you're self-employed and you have some work and you're juggling the children during the day and working at home too. I mean, I completely relate. I totally understand. So I'm going to give you some ideas about what you can do to help your child find ways to entertain themselves and also fill their cup with the loving attention that they deserve. Okay, so does that sound good? So number one is the what I just said, filling their cup with the love and attention that they deserve. This is huge. So having children is such a joy. It's such a gift. And sometimes when things are so busy and a lot of things are demanding of our time, then we forget that it doesn't matter if the dishes don't get done. It doesn't matter if the laundry doesn't get done. It doesn't matter if you don't answer that email right now. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. But what does matter is that your child is going to continue to grow. And at the end of this day, it is gone and you will never get it back. I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough to keep that in mind. Just be mindful of that, because one day becomes 1 week, becomes 1 month, becomes a year, becomes the rest of their lives. And I could say that from personal experience. We have an adult son now. He's 20 and he has a child of his own. And I lost so many years with him from feeling like I needed to keep up with the house and needed to work. And being a former workaholic, I know how it feels when you have that angst to need to get to certain things that you feel need to get done around the house or for your job. But if your children are there and they deserve your attention, they need your attention, it is such a joy. And if you're struggling with that concept, I completely understand. I get it. If you're in the habit of wanting to get things done, it just takes that little mind shift to get into the practice of engaging in play. I encourage you to look into other episodes if you're struggling with relating to your child. I have covered some of this on how to play with your child, how to engage and show your child that you love them. and also how to free up your time so that you don't feel that overwhelm anymore. So do please go into past episodes, episodes 1 through 20. There are quite a few there that will support you through this. So with that said, filling their cup with that undivided attention and going through some of the previous episodes and taking some of that advice and applying it to the time that you have in the present with your child will help them feel like, okay, cool. Mom and dad are here. I'm getting their attention. This is awesome. We just finished playing. And you'll notice organically, it depends on your child. Everyone's different, but starting with 10 minutes at a time in your playtime, set a timer for that time and spend that time with your child undivided, even when you have things piled up all around you, as long as your undivided attention is fully immersed in your child. As soon as their cup seems like it's full, between 10 minutes and 30 minutes, then you can go into the next step, which is engaging in training them to play independently. Now, the training does take time and it won't happen overnight. You're going to start with small increments. And what the training is this. You're going to train your child to choose an activity. You'll give them somewhere between 1 and 3 options. And it could be, if you want something quiet, it could be reading a book or coloring or drawing or engaging in a quiet game on their own. Or if they're free to pick any toys, you can pick 1 to 3 toys. This is especially for preschoolers, but any age, 1 to 3 activities around the house. And if you have a backyard, you can pick 1 to 3 activities in a backyard. Pick a space in your home. So whether it be your living room, their bedroom, or the backyard, and say, okay, you're going to spend 5 minutes and set the timer together doing this activity on your own. Ready? Go ahead. And if it's something that they need help with, of course, you can help them spend a couple minutes, scaffold the process. It's called scaffolding in education, where you help the child, guide them, be there for them. And the ultimate goal is to step away from it and allow them to be completely independent in whatever activity it is. So give them 5 minutes to allow that. And they may end up finding themselves totally immersed in the activity and they totally forget about the timer, or they aren't even paying attention to the time and they keep playing, and next thing you know, it's been 15 minutes. Cool. That's the ultimate goal, is to set the expectation that, sweetheart, right now it's playtime on your own and I'm going to tend to this. Now, if you have multiple children, you may not have as much of a challenge with this, but maybe you do, and you can encourage a game that they can interact with together. And maybe it's a lot longer. And going back to step 1, if you do have multiple kiddos, you'll need to engage and invest one-on-one time with each of your children to fill their cups, and then let go and allow them to spend time with each other. The ultimate thing is they just want to know that you're there, you're present, you see them, and they're loved. So once that's full, then you can go into that next step of training them to be on their own. Now, what happens after 15 minutes of playing with one activity? There are 1 of 2 things that can happen. It depends on how experienced your child is with playing on their own. Now, before we dive into what to do when your child's interest is waning on the activity at hand, I have a quick announcement to share. So here we go. Hi there, it's Melissa here with a quick announcement. On our website, raisingkindness.org, we just launched a new feature of asking your question. So go over to raisingkindness.org today to record your question, and it could be answered on a future episode. Now, your question could be about anything. It could be about today's topic. It could be about a previous one on another episode. It could even be about anything that you're facing in your own life that's a challenge or a problem that you're looking for a solution on your journey, your mission to building a life that you love with your family. So, does that sound good? Go ahead and go over to raisingkindness.org today and ask your question of us right now. Oh, and now back to the show. And also, you can go ahead and email me at melissa@raisingkindness.org. And I'd be happy to go ahead and read your question on a future episode too. I know some people out there might be uncomfortable with hearing your voice, as beautiful as I'm sure your voice does sound. I know we can all be self-critical. So if you prefer that I read your question, I know that I would enjoy hearing from you, and I would really love a crack at helping you with any of the challenges that you have. So melissa@raisingkindness.org. Don't hesitate to email me. Okay, so let's dive back into what we were talking about. So your child has been playing. Let's go ahead and cover what we were doing. So you're trying to get some things done. You filled your child's cup with loving attention that's undivided. You guys have played. You've then introduced the idea of them playing on their own, especially if they don't quite have the experience, or they're testing the boundaries about what's appropriate, or they're trying to get your attention and they want to keep it now. We need to train them. So you've gone through the scaffolding process, as we talk about in early childhood education, and that I'm sharing with you to empower you with having that same tool at home. It's a tool that teachers use in the classroom, so why not, right? So you have scaffolded the process of introducing your child to a new activity or the concept of playing on their own. You've set a timer to establish the boundary of how long your child's expected to play on their own while you get your own things done around the house that are contributing to your household and your family. Now your child has gotten to the point where they're over it. They don't want to play with the activity at hand. So there are a couple things you can do. They may be overwhelmed with they may be over it with the environment. Maybe you have them in the living room and you're in the kitchen. Maybe you have some things that you can get done in your bedroom, put some laundry away, or maybe you can bring them into the office with you. So you can change the environment. That's a big thing for children. It's just a small environment change is all that they really need. Or maybe they just want to be closer to you, and that's great too. If that's not the solution, I invite you to find a different activity. So they may want you to engage in the activity. Go ahead and engage with them. Give them a little bit more, fill their cup a little bit more with undivided attention, introducing the new activity. Maybe they want to bring out their Hot Wheels or their dollhouse, or they want to color now and they were playing with puzzles before. So introduce some new choices. Giving choices, especially to a young child, is so important because it also fills their power cup. So this is something that's really big that Alfred Adler, a therapist, and then later on Dr. Jane Nelson came up with her positive parenting strategy, is filling the cup with either the power that your child needs or the love that they need, the attention that they need. So giving them those choices will fill that power cup, give them the feeling that they're empowered they have decided that that's what they're going to do with their time while you're engaged with your own activities. And then you guys can get into a rhythm and routine. Now, if your child is struggling with this, it just means they're just not acclimated. I know from personal experience, and I'm sure that you are going to totally relate to me and go, yes, that's how much time it takes. It takes like 15, 20 hours a week to tend to a house if you're doing it on your own with your spouse. It takes, it could take us several hours in a week of time at home working, especially if you're taking work home. I hope to goodness that you're working from home on days, like alternating days and going into the office and not bringing work home on your evenings and weekends. That we'll save for another episode. And if you are doing that, that's okay. I've got you. We're going to get you through it. But for now, if you have some extra stuff, you're working a lot of extra overtime, or you've got a lot of stuff going on around the house, I get it. And it could take, 4 or 5 hours in a single day for you to get things done. The way my husband and I do it, when we're at home with our son and we've got 4 or 5 hours of solid work that we need to get done, usually housework where we're catching up with things either on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning before we get to go play, is we'll go through this exact process. So to give you an idea about what it looks like in our house is we'll open up with a lot of undivided family time. We have a good breakfast together. We all get dressed together if we're going to get dressed and get out the door for errands or whatever. Or, we have that undivided playtime. We read some books. We fill Bodhi's cup with love and attention. Then we move into, okay, it's time to clean. It's a field day this morning. And maybe we introduce a couple activities and choices that he'll start with, and he'll play for about 20-30 minutes on his own. This is after we filled his cup with attention. Then we introduce the choice of some TV time. So maybe he'll get 30 minutes of TV time. He'll get to pick out something. Right now, he's working on controlling his body, so we tend to stay away from things that are really active. I think that, for his sake, we've decided for him, he's a little too young to be watching things that has any sort of fighting or anything, because he just gets amped and active. So that's something you can watch out for. Is there a show or a genre of shows that's influencing a certain behavior that's not agreeable for your family or doesn't align with your family values? Then you can select shows based on that. So then we'll do about 30 minutes of TV time, maybe an hour tops, and then we'll reintroduce, filling his cup with some attention. My husband or I will take our turns. We'll take turns with it, and then we'll reintroduce his option to entertain himself. Now we can ebb and flow like this for about 4 or 5 hours and get a lot done together. And it does take some teamwork. Now, if you're alone, that's okay. It just means that a little bit more frequently, you'll be taking those pauses to spend that one-on-one time, fill your child's cup, and then move on into the routine. And part of the lesson that you can teach your child too is the family value of respecting and valuing your things, respecting and valuing time, and respecting and valuing that you have a home that deserves to be clean. You deserve to live in a clean home, and you guys can clean together. That's a big thing too. I can't believe I didn't even bring that up in this episode. Is, an alternative to watching TV while you're cleaning is your child can be invited to clean with you. So that's a big thing too. But when it comes to things where they just can't be engaged, like you're engaged in work or things that they just can't help with, then this should all be really, really helpful for you. And you can share, why we do these things. What is it that's important about us accomplishing the task at hand? Why mommy or just daddy have to work on this so that we can have XYZ time together later on, whatever it is. And introducing that hard work is a good thing. It's a good value to have, and they can contribute their own hard work. And that could be practicing their homework, and it could be practicing on a new skill that they want to learn. Those are other things that you can introduce to them too, is that, whatever skills or ideas or sports or activities they've been talking about recently in the last couple of weeks, because children are fickle. 2 weeks from now, it could be something completely different. But whatever they're really passionate and excited about learning, and encourage them to learn about it. Learn about it in a book, or color about it. Draw me a picture of you doing that. That kind of thing. So our role as their parent is to guide them through the process of thinking for themselves and independently coming up with ideas. Now, with preschoolers, they need a lot more scaffolding than an older child, but it's a great way for you guys to bond, for you to ask some good questions that may engage creativity, encourage creativity, activate different parts of their brain, whether it be, practicing math. Maybe they want to get better at math, so practice the right side of the brain or the left side of the brain, and then they want to engage and they want to learn how to paint, the right side of the brain. And there are actually ways that you can use YouTube, opening up screen time, and use the screen time in a different way to teach them something. Maybe you could find some sort of video for kids where it teaches them how to paint, a step-by-step painting process, or it teaches them how to make a friendship bracelet. That's great for little girls. They like things like that. Learning a skill, learning how to do something. So I hope that this really helps and helps you get some really good ideas about alternatives to screen time, or different ways you can use screen time for the better. And please don't hesitate to email me at melissa@raisingkindness.org, or to leave us a question via the SpeakPipe app that's on raisingkindness.org itself. So thank you so much for tuning in. I do hope that this is helpful. And please do subscribe if you're new here. Welcome, welcome. I hope to see you and speak with you next time.